Welcome. My name is Juan Cruz. I am the superintendent for Franklin McKinney School District, and I will be facilitating this breakout room discussion in regards to an overview of community-based organizations that can provide digital information and support for families with connectivity and affordable and sustainable home broadband internet service. We have two speakers today with us. Charlene and David will be first starting with Charlene Tatis. Can you help me with your last name? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Sure, thank you. Tatis.
Tatis, okay, thank you. I try to do my best always to get it right. And so in terms of process, what we're gonna ask participants to do is if you have questions, in order to manage the group that we have, is to have the questions entered in the chat. And so as the questions come up, I will be able to read them to our presenters and be able to answer as many as we can, so that we can have the breakout session sort of move more efficiently. So I'm going to start with our introduction of our first speaker, Charlene Tatis. Currently serves as Program Director of the San Jose Digital Inclusion Partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund. Actually, they wanted me to poll so that we know who is in this particular breakout session. If you can do the poll.
The link is in the chat.
Yes. So if you go to the chat, you can go ahead and enter the information there so we can be able to know who's in the room. So I'll give people a few minutes. David, if you can let me know when we can.
I think you can go on to the next.
Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz.
All right. It takes a whole village to be able to make this work, for sure. Still getting used to all these different tools. And I sympathize with our teachers, because this is not easy, I'm sure, when you have 32 students in the Zoom. So let me start again by introducing our first speaker. Charlene Tatis currently serves as Program Director of the San Jose Digital Inclusion Partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund. She holds a master's degree in Human Development and Education Leadership from Pacific Oaks College. Ms. Tatis has over 20 years of experience leading multiple community-based initiatives and public-private partnerships in support of educational equity for all families and children living in Santa Clara County. She has passionately served in a number of roles as community organizer, grant administrator, and consultant for community and government organizations serving diverse populations of families with young children. So help me welcome Charlene Tatis.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. Dr. Jawan, appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak today. Hello, community members, colleagues. Happy to talk a little bit today, not only about the internet service offers that are available now, but the advocacy to improve those efforts that Dr. Jawan mentioned earlier, as well as our community grantee partners that are funded through the San Jose Digital Inclusion Partnership that can help support families in schools. and how each of you could establish a partnership if you wish to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and hope that all of my technology works. And so there we go. Can everyone see that? Yeah, perfect. Yay, it's so great when it all works. Okay. So first, I'd like to just give a brief overview of the San Jose Digital Inclusion Partnership. I'm sure most of you have heard about the partnership, but for those of you that haven't, I wanted to give a little bit of context. So over the next 10 years, the City of San Jose is investing $24 million to close the digital divide. Each year, there is a commitment of at least $1 million in digital inclusion grants for community-based organizations. And I see that Rosemary from the 3rd Street Community Center has joined our breakout group, and she's one of our partners. So hello, Rosemary. It's so great to have you. We also, our goal is big. It's to connect 50,000 San Jose households to broadband internet access, a device, as well as the digital literacy skills necessary to ensure that students have access to distance learning opportunities and that families can prosper. And a unique point to mention is that all of our community partners are funded based on outcomes. And so we do have a very detailed list of indicators and metrics for which they are achieving to continue to receive the grant funds and support families in our city. As a result of shelter in place and the COVID-19 crisis, on April 21st, the city did approve a 7-point strategy to also sort of pivot to support distance learning. And so while our partnership was focused on supporting all families and individuals of all backgrounds to connect to digital resources, and although that is still what we do have a very focused effort to support with distance learning, as many of you have already seen. And then part of our strategy is to leverage the School Cities Partnership, implement the grant funds, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and all of the other points mentioned here today by our mayor and Dr. Dewan. So an overview of the affordable internet offers. Basically, there are 3 internet service providers for San Jose, and the first one is AT&T Access, and this is just a quick overview of the cost for AT&T Access, some of the pros and the cons, and the enrollment criteria. Some of this information is pretty standard across, but I'll give a little summation in a minute of what the differences are between the 3. And then we also have our Internet Essentials through Comcast. As you'll see, the difference between AT&T and Comcast are the speeds. While AT&T is 3 to 10 megabytes per second, Comcast comes in at 25 megabytes per second. And Comcast continues to offer the free 60 days for internet service customers. Another difference between AT&T and Comcast is that through AT&T, if you currently have a market rate plan but can now qualify, which many families who have lost employment and their income has significantly decreased, if they have an AT&T account now, a market rate account, and would like to go into an affordable offer, they can do that without any penalties or without any wait time. While with Comcast, unfortunately, if you currently have a market rate plan and qualify for an affordable internet offer, you do have to wait 90 days before you can go into the affordable offer. And so that does pose a challenge for many of our families who have experienced a loss in income. Our grantee partners, who I will talk about in a minute, have some strategies to try to help families still access an affordable plan. One is, of course, to switch to AT&T, or Hotspot through Human IT and some of the other options that we have. Human IT, as I just mentioned, is another option. It's where families can purchase a hotspot for as little as $100 and then pay $15 a month for the internet service that's through T-Mobile. Many of our families that are in transition, that are experiencing homelessness, that also just prefer to have a hotspot, usually choose this option and are extremely satisfied with this service here. So as Dr. Dewan mentioned earlier, there is the California Emerging Technology Fund, along with the Santa Clara County Office of Education and the City of San Jose. We are all working to advocate to improve the internet offers. We are aware that the offers through the internet service providers are not where we want them to be, but they are another option on the menu, if you will, for families. I myself have had experience in using several options with my son in distance learning, and so it is wonderful to have these different options, but we are working to improve them. So for example, CTF is working with the California Boards Association to address the need for infrastructure funding. So definitely some legislator governor action is required there. And then Dr. Dewan is reaching out to all other county offices of education and leaders to support Tony Thurmond and Governor Gavin Newsom in engaging the internet service providers to improve those offers. So thank you to all of you, you know, advocating to make this better for everyone. Dr. Dewan and her leadership and team over at the Santa Clara County Office of Ed in spring also sent out 265 letters to families county-wide who have school-aged children. And I'm going to show you what the letter looked like in a minute, but the letter not only offered support for families to sign up for the affordable internet offers, but also gave a glimpse similar to the one I did earlier about which internet offers are available and how you qualify. In the fall, a second mailing was completed to families with school-aged children residing in low-income neighborhoods. And so as Dr. Dewan mentioned when we did the second mailing was that, you know, in the fall, in the spring, all of us, none of us, I think, knew that this was going to go on as long as it did, or were under a great deal of stress. And so by following up with the second letter, we have been able to reach many more families to be able to connect them, because they might be in a place now where they can absorb the information and reach out for support. So this is an interesting slide, but nonetheless, I wanted to show you what families received in the mail. I myself live on the east side of San Jose and have a school-aged child, so received one of the letters in my mailbox, which was lovely to see. And it's a short letter to capture the attention, saying, you know, we offer 2 months free internet, then as low as $10 and $15 a month. Here's a list of community-based organizations that can help you connect. Rather than offer just one telephone number, we thought it was really important to list our community-based organizations. As many of you know, families sometimes have fears of contacting or calling an 800 number, fears of, you know, information being shared. So by seeing trusted organizations like Catholic Charities, Goodwill, Sacred Heart, Vietnamese Voluntary Foundation, you know, they can see this letter and they can say, hey, I know them, I'm going to call them because I trust them and I can get support and information from them. And then the back side of the letter included the flyer that you see on the right side of your screen. So families could also contact the internet service providers directly, as you'll see the 855 numbers there, but we really encourage families to contact community-based organizations directly. Really important too, I just want to say that our role, our consumer educators, we remain vendor neutral. We do not impose one vendor over the other. We help families make informed decisions about technology, about what internet service providers they'd like to subscribe to. We provide a description of the different offers. We learn a little bit about their internet usage or how they wish to use the internet to help them make the best decision on which internet service provider to choose. And then we also help advocate for families. So we will even sit on the phone and help families subscribe to these internet offers. So again, typical of most community-based work, very supportive, hands-on, and our grant process was to select organizations that deliver services in language and in culture. Rosemary here today is one of them. Thank you, Rosemary. Here's just a quick view of the 22 community-based organizations that we funded to support families with this work, many of which you probably recognize. And what I'd like to today is I'd like to encourage schools to develop a partnership with our community-based organizations and refer families directly who received a hotspot device in the fall or in the spring, because if they received that hotspot device, they were either unconnected at the time of shelter in place or underconnected. And so we deemed them eligible for the digital inclusion support. And so what our grantees will be able to do is engage the family, complete a pre-self-assessment to determine their level of digital literacy skills training. Families will receive information about long-term sustainable internet, especially if they have just the hotspot, so that once the service at the hotspot ends, they know how to get long-term sustainable access. The computing device, we help families get access to a low-cost or no-cost computing device. As the mayor noted, we're doing some aggressive fundraising, and so as devices are available, we also make them available to our grantee partners to give to families. And then of course the digital literacy skills training, which is one of the most important pieces to this project, so that our families know how to support their students at home with distance learning and can apply for benefits online, can really save time and money. As we all know, having access to the internet and good access and knowing how to use that access, we can better our economic opportunity, our employment opportunities. And so that's really what we're trying to do here. So I wanted to paint a picture of what a school referral process could look like for you. And then I want to end by saying, if you are interested in partnering with one of our CBO partners to refer families, please, if there is a partner that you saw in the list there that you'd like to work with, please let me know. And if you're interested, contact me. I've already met with a few school leaders because I've done a webinar a few weeks ago that Dr. Dewan hosted as well. And so I can definitely meet with you so that I can learn more about your school population and help make a connection to the best partner to support your families. So I am available for questions. I don't know how I'm doing in time, but I think I'm doing okay.
You have about 2 minutes, and
Perfect.
then we will have also a Q&A at the end before we go back to the general session.
Fabulous. So can I take a question or two in my 2 minutes?
Somebody wants to have you post your contact information. You can do it in the chat.
I will also post it on the chat, but I do have it here in a slide. And I'm happy to, yes, please contact me. Anyone else?
I don't see any questions on the chat. But if you do have a question as we go through it, just put it in the chat and we will address it at before we go back to the general session.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for your time and your attention. I hope that was helpful. We are not perfect by any means, but we are using all of the resources and knowledge and leverage of partnerships to really try to support families as much as we can. So I encourage you to work with us and build this plane while we fly it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is David Wu. For the past 5 years, David Wu has been the Chief Technology Officer for the Santa Clara County Office of Education. As part of his responsibilities, he leads the Technology and Data Services Division. He is responsible for driving innovation and technology adoption in education on behalf of the County Office of Education. Prior to his appointment, David was the CIO and Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Information Technology Services for the State of Hawaii Department of Education. Before entering the public education sector, David was the technology leader in the commercial industry, holding leadership roles at companies such as Oracle, IBM, and various Silicon Valley startups. Welcome, David Wu.
Thank you for that introduction, Superintendent Cruz, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you, Superintendent Dewan. I'd like to share my screen now. Go ahead and do that. Okay. So my goal here is to share what kind of offers are available both at the local as well as at the state level. Maybe who is taking advantage of these offers, talk about maybe some of the pros and cons, and how well they might meet the needs of the Santa Clara County districts. So with that, let me move forward. So the first category really is access to funds and grants. And the our school districts have received the attached memo from State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, and that memorandum states that the learning loss mitigation funds have been allocated to all districts in California, and they recommend that they be used to close the digital divide. For some districts, this can be a useful amount, and many districts are actually spending them on devices. So another source of funds really is what we've been talking about all along, which is the resources for the county itself. So on June 23rd, the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors approved a $7.1 million to help close the digital divide for districts within Santa Clara County. The county designated the SACOE as the agency to assist in the procurement and distribution of the devices and potential grants. So next, I want to talk about computing device options. So the first one is the Apple iPad T-Mobile deal, and essentially what it is an iPad bundled with a T-Mobile data plan that will provide 4G LTE services for an entire year. It also includes a wireless keyboard and case, and the good news is that if you're an Apple district, this is a potential option. They also have a short inventory delivery times. One of the things I also wanted to note here is that there's, as many of you folks know, one common theme across this presentation is that the lead times for Chromebooks devices and some hotspots is quite long, but lead times for other devices such as Macs and Windows laptops are significantly shorter, so they might be options for some districts. You can go to the link for more information at the CDE website on this particular deal. Another potential offer is from Office Depot, and this was a CDE sponsored arrangement as well. This one basically provides 50,000 Chromebooks available for delivery at the end of September, and that obviously is going to vary. Then other volumes and models might be available for delivery in November as well. They've also have 10,000 Windows laptops available from about 8 to 10 week delivery window, and the contact information there is below. This is if you click on the contact form, it basically comes up with a Google form that you can fill out to get connected to a rep to discuss what the options are. This is another offer which we actually strongly considered for our own staff and basically it's a lower cost Windows device. And some of these offers were done in collaboration with Microsoft, whereby they actually lowered the cost of a Windows professional license in order to make the cost of these devices less. And in some cases, they lowered the cost of the Windows license to $1, which allowed manufacturers to be able to reduce the price of their laptop to a more competitive level. One of the things about these particular devices is that we would recommend that for Windows devices, as well as Chromebooks, that they have a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. And so if I were discussing this with technology folks, I probably would recommend doing an upgrade on this one. I believe it's only about $20, $30 to go to an 8 gigabyte laptop. So our next option is other Chromebook alternative Windows devices. So this is basically a Windows device. It is being sold for a very competitive price. The one con I have on this offer is that it's, I've never heard of this brand. I would also recommend to see if this is upgradable to 8 gigabytes. This particular model may not be. I don't have that much information on it. The company is based in Australia, but based on the price, it is competitive with a lot of Chromebooks, so it might be a potential option. So I also want to let folks know about an offer that I think the City of San Jose has also raised to our attention level. And we wanted to share the potential offer that the state has also worked through with Neverware as well. So Neverware basically allows you to emulate a Chromebook using an existing device, typically one that is probably past its useful life for running Windows or Mac OS, because Chromebooks use a lot less resources than the other operating systems. It's a potential way to get more life out of existing, otherwise obsolete devices. The cost is basically $15 per device. Now that does not include the Google license. So I believe a Google Applications for Education license costs about an additional $30. But when you add it up, it's still a very competitive price compared to trying to get another Chromebook. And so this may be an option for some districts that have access to some devices that they can reconfigure and redeploy. Some pros and cons. There are obviously higher maintenance costs and labor costs associated with trying to refurbish or get older computers back up to speed. And so this is something that may not be a fit for everybody, but it's a potential option for folks to consider if they're so inclined. So I wanted to spend some time talking about offers for hotspots and internet connectivity. So many districts have access to this offer, and while the deadline to sign up has already been passed, I believe most of the districts within our area have signed up for at least some extent of these offers. The CETF actually went through and, I'm sorry, the CPUC actually went through and did a review of these, and so I think they've gone through and they've done finalizations of some of the awards. The one good news is that they've extended the reimbursement period for these hotspots from these 4 brands to December 31st. What it does is basically pays for 50% of the monthly service fees for these for hotspots. There's been talk about trying to get them to extend it further past into next calendar year, but we don't believe that they have enough funding allocated to make this happen. So this was also discussed previously, so I won't spend too much time on it. But basically, this in partnership with San Jose Libraries, City of San Jose, and the San Clair County Office of Education and AT&T, over 8,000 hotspots were delivered. And I believe they're preparing to deliver an additional 4,000 in the works. And more information can be found at the following website, www.sjpl.org/sjaccess. So this is actually what I think is one of the probably the more better deals of that's available to the districts. And so what Los Angeles Unified did was they did a volume purchase agreement with Verizon, and in the contract language, they've allowed any school district within California to essentially piggyback on the LAUSD contract. What that provides school districts is a way to get a hotspot for $57 and then pay $10 a month for unlimited data. If you annualize the cost of this, it basically gives you a hotspot for a total of $180 approximately for the entire year. And then the ongoing costs would be essentially $120 a year thereafter. What it does require, though, is it does require you to provide your own filtering. And so our county offices is actually facilitating that for school districts, but we're in the process of setting that up. You know, for those districts that are using us for their firewall service, it's actually a fairly simple matter. But if the school district is in a hurry and wants to get these devices set up right away, they can also opt to choose their own filtering through a third party, and that'll cost an extra $2 a month, which actually still is a really good deal for districts. Essentially, you can get the service for just right around $200 a month. And the local rep contact for Santa Clara County is at the bottom if you would like to get more information about this. So next, we have the T-Mobile Empower Ed Hotspot program. And this is the available to all districts. It basically, but there is an application process. And what it provides districts is access to a free hotspot and then $20 a month for unlimited data. It does include the CIPA content filtering, and it is a one-year contract, so you're essentially locked in for a full year. But you can suspend the service for up to 3 months, for example, during a summer break. And the application for is at t-mobile.com/business/education/empowered2. I want to also highlight a second offer from T-Mobile, and that is the Project 10 Million initiative. And this is more of a grant-based project. Its goal is to allocate 10 million hotspots over a 5-year period. The criteria appears to be based on national school lunch percentage, school lunch program percentage. It provides 100 gigabytes of data on an annual basis and does include CIPA filtering. Now, we all know that 100 gigabytes may not be enough for, you know, in this age of Zoom. So there are ways to combine, like perhaps getting fewer hotspots, but getting more data. The one concern that I have about this one is that if you look in California in particular, for a family of 2 to qualify for the NSLP, a family of 2 has to make $32,000 a year. And if you want to qualify for free lunches, you need $22,000 a year of income. And for many areas of California with high costs of living, the local poverty levels will not be a realistic measure for families that are living in Santa Clara County. So let me move on to the next. This is what Charlene already went over, and there's plenty of information on that, so I won't go over this in any additional detail. One additional option that I wanted to highlight for folks is a Lifeline cell phone hotspot offer. And this is for families and students that qualify for the Universal Lifeline project. And what that allows students to do and families is to get access to essentially a cell phone that comes with a data plan. And so essentially they get a free phone if they qualify for Universal Lifeline. And then if they want unlimited data, they would just pay the additional $20 a month for that. Finally, a lot of this information is also summarized on the California Department of Education website, which I've basically given a screenshot for. And you'll see a lot of the offers that were on this, that were in my presentation, are also linked in the CDE websites page. what I did was I tried to highlight the ones that are more attractive. There are quite a few things out there, and it will take a lot of research to do, go sifting through some of those websites. So if you folks need any more information, you'd like to look at the other options to see whether they might work for you, I would encourage you to take a look at the CE site. It's constantly being updated, so there's newer offers that are also available. And so with that, I'd like to ask folks if they have any questions.
Yes, if we have about 3 minutes before we go back to the general session. So if you do have a question, if you could put it in the chat. I do want to go back to a couple comments that have been put in the chat before, just acknowledging Rosemary, indicating that there's 3rd Street Community Center is looking for Spanish-speaking families with children who attend downtown San Jose for supporting them there. Carla, that indicates that, you know, there's still, even though it's a low cost for some families, it's still challenging, and certainly the service is sometimes not the best, and a lot of students are being kicked out of Zoom when they're on there. I just wanted to add, you know, obviously Charlene, you know, spoke to that in regards to the partners, the CBOs that are working with families, because, you know, as we know, just giving them an advice and a hotspot is not enough. And so really partnering with CBOs to help families with some of the skills that they need in order to make, you know, to truly access. This is something that we're working on as well in partnership with Catholic Charities, which is one of the CBOs as part of the Digital Inclusion Partnership. So we're working with families to truly have them get access once they have the device and the hotspot. Charlene, did you want to add anything to that? Because I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, I do. And I also want to say thank you, David, for the thorough presentation. And one of your last slides with San Jose On and the Lifeline phones, that is through also one of our community-based organization partners. And so we agree that the internet service offers that are currently being offered, especially for a family with multiple children. There was one of the messages in the chat in relation to that. One of those internet connections alone is absolutely correct, will not sustain that household's internet connection. However, our community-based partners are knowledgeable of, you know, what each offer consists of and how to even couple up offers to support families to also have a hotspot and the broadband connection at home. Again, I've had to do a little bit of that myself here in my home, and I just have one child and myself on, of course, lots of bandwidth and speed needs there. But so yes, agree, and that's why there are some intense advocacy efforts. And then as Superintendent Cruz mentioned, the biggest piece that community-based organizations could really offer here is that digital literacy training. And while families who are, you know, extremely low income, that have very little to no digital literacy skills, it has been shown in, you know, focus group surveys, research that has been done, that once they know how to access and use that access to their benefit, they will not only see the value of paying $10 to $15 a month for internet service, but will make it work in their budget to be able to do that, or, you know, find a way to be able to pay that additional cost. So while I am aware that there are families that an additional bill is, you know, means less food on the table. That's not what we're encouraging, but we're also encouraging families that if they gain the skills, they could save time and they could save money in other places to be able to have those extra dollars to pay for the monthly internet service. I know that that's not a perfect solution, but it is one of the ways that we really encourage families to sign up for the digital literacy classes with their trusted community-based organization and learn how those skills can be put to use.
Thank you. Before we get back, we have about 35 seconds. I want to thank again Charlene and David for the information. There's so much out there, and I'm glad that you guys have looked into it and kind of brought us what you think is in the best interest of our community to be able to look into. All right, I think we're going to be bumped back into the main session in about 10 seconds. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. It's very well facilitated.
Thank you.